This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th president of the U.S. yesterday, and he's coming in blazing with policies that will be highly disruptive for the automotive industry. First, Trump is promising to put 25% tariffs on vehicles imported from Canada and Mexico by February 1st. And the tariffs will also apply to imported components. If that's a bargaining ploy, then Canada and Mexico only have 10 days to work out a solution. Stellantis imports 40% of the vehicles it sells in the U.S. from Mexico. GM imports about 30% and Ford about 25%. And Wolf Research says the tariffs will raise the prices of all vehicles by about $3,000. Volkswagen and BMW are also deeply worried. VW's assembly plant in Puebla, Mexico, makes about 350,000 vehicles a year, most of which are exported to the U.S. Analysts say those vehicles, the Jetta, Tiguan, and Taos, would not be price competitive with a 25% tariff. Audi makes about 175,000 Q5s in Mexico, and about 76% of those are exported to the U.S. BMW's plant in San Luis Potosi makes about 175,000 2 and 3 Series and M2s a year, and about 60% of those are exported to the U.S. BMW also wants to make its new class EVs there, or at least it did until Trump threatened the tariffs. Mercedes was making the GLB compact SUV in Mexico as part of a joint venture with Nissan, but that operation was announced to close last year. Trump got rid of President Biden's executive order as well, which would have required 50% of all light vehicles sold in the U.S. by 2030 to be electrics. On top of that, Trump froze all the unspent money that's being allocated to build public charging stations. He wants to repeal the waiver that the EPA grants to the California Air Resources Board, which has set its own zero-emission vehicle mandates that 11 other states have adopted, and he says he's considering eliminating the $7,500 subsidy for people who buy EVs. But so far, Trump hasn't said anything about the subsidies to build EV battery factories, something the auto industry has been lobbying hard to protect. And it's no wonder the German OEMs are so worried about Trump's tariffs affecting their business in North America. They're also getting clobbered in China, and the European market is barely growing. The ACEA reports that new vehicle sales in the greater European market came in at only 12.9 million units, up less than 1% last year. Sales of EVs dropped 1.3% to 1.9 million vehicles, and gas, diesel, and PHEV sales were all down, although hybrids were up a strong 19%, which pushed Toyota to the biggest gain of all the large manufacturers. Honda told Nissan there won't be any merger between the two companies until Nissan gets its business turned around. So Nissan will axe 9,000 jobs, mostly in production, and cut production by 20%. One of the models that's getting dropped is Nissan's AD compact van. It's made and shown in Japan and only accounts for 7,000 out of the 150,000 vehicles the factory builds every year. And with issues like this starting to get cleared up, Honda and Nissan are expected to announce a framework for negotiations later this month.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
There may not be a next-gen fully electric F-150. According to Auto Forecast Solutions, the current F-150 Lightning will go out of production at the end of June in 2027, and it doesn't show a new model picking up again after that. There will be a next-gen F-150 coming about a year later in 2028, so it is possible there's an electric version of that truck. But the Lightning has been a bit of a flop for Ford. When the truck was originally announced with a roughly $40,000 price tag, Ford snatched up hundreds of thousands of orders. But the starting price is much higher, which has had an impact. Ford cut production and shifts at its Rouge Electric Vehicle Center, and for all of last year, it sold about 33,500 Lightnings. On top of that, Ford CEO Jim Farley previously said that large EVs are not profitable because of the cost of their bigger batteries. However, it's not just Ford. No automaker has been able to sell full-size electric pickups in decent volumes yet. But speaking of Ford pickup trucks, the automaker is launching a new off-road version of the Ranger in China. The model is called the FX4 Sand Fox Special Edition, and it features a number of upgrades like Fox dual-valve shocks, a rear Watts-Link suspension setup, locking diffs, beadlock wheels, and it even has an engine snorkel. Power comes from either a gas or diesel 2.3-liter engine. The gas version is paired to a 10-speed transmission, while the diesel gets an 8-speed unit. Pricing comes in just under $40,000, which is nearly double what a base Ranger costs in China. While pickup sales in China are nowhere near where they are in the US due to some restrictions, the Ranger has been on sale in the country since 2018. Chinese battery maker CATL is expanding in Europe. It announced a new joint venture to open a new battery plant in Europe with a local automaker. But the company didn't reveal which automaker or where the plant will be located. CATL already has 2 battery plants in operation in Europe, one in Germany and another in Hungary. And last month, it formed a partnership with Stellantis to open a battery factory in Spain, which will produce 50 gigawatt hours of LFP batteries a year. Hyundai is exploring the possibility of new electric 3-wheel and 4-wheeled vehicles for India, or what I would describe as new-age tuk-tuks or rickshaws. It says it will look into their potential, and based on those findings, it will determine if the project will move ahead. Hyundai would do all the design, engineering, and supply the tech, while another company called TVS Motor, which is based in India and makes scooters, motorcycles, and rickshaws, would take care of the manufacturing and marketing of the vehicles. The 4-wheeler is also being looked at for global markets. But Hyundai is also going after the small crossover segment in India with electrics. It's launching its first made-in-India EV, an all-electric version of the Creta, of which the ICE version is already Hyundai's best-selling model in the country. The EV features either a 42 or 51.4 kilowatt-hour battery, which provides up to 473 kilometers or nearly 300 miles of range. Power comes from a single electric motor that produces roughly 135 horsepower or nearly 170 horses in the version with the bigger battery pack. The Creta Electric will start at just over $20,000 in India, and Hyundai believes it will expand the appeal of the small crossover even more. Hal Sperlich, one of the greatest product planners in the history of the auto industry, has passed away at the age of 95. He played a key role in coming up with the idea to do the 1964 Mustang when he was at Ford. He also was behind the original Ford Fiesta in 1976. But Sperlich was fired by Henry Ford II and then went over to Chrysler, where he created the K cars that saved the company and created the minivans, which made the company very profitable. Sperlich went on to become president of Chrysler, was inducted into the Automotive Hall of Fame, and left a lasting mark on the U.S. auto industry. And we here at Autoline salute all the contributions that he made. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Intrepid Control Systems. Over-the-air engineering boost your game. And by Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility.
Developing today's vehicles, issues can happen in an instant. What good is knowing your problems without the data to solve them? Meet Wireless Neovi Cloud, your secure off-the-shelf solution, empowering empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With wireless Nearby Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Nearby Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.